Guys, we're back. This is a case for pace. We're doing a year in review of all 30 teams, and we're on the last of the bottom 5 teams, rounding out the bottom 5 with the Minnesota Timberwolves, who I personally, this year has really kind of spurred my interest with them. They've got really a lot of great pieces.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Wiggins starting to emerge finally. Mm-hmm. Towns is something else. I mean, he's going to be an awesome player in this league.
Yeah. Just before we get into it, I'd like to say, I'd like to give my condolences to the Saunders family. We're all very sorry. This season has been very tough on the entire Minnesota Timberwolves organization, and just on a little somber note here to start off, we'd like to send our prayers and thoughts to the Saunders family, and we really did appreciate all of your contributions, Flip, to the game of basketball. So thank you very much. This year has been a tough year for Minnesota, but man, it's besides a lot of the other things, it's really not. It's a bright situation.
Improvement from last year.
It's starting to become a work in progress here. This is one of the teams that we foresee a really quick turnaround.
You know what? I said this earlier with Alex, and this is kind of a big bet. I think they win at least 35 games next year.
I could see it.
And you know what? I say in the next 2 years they're back into playoff contention. Honestly,
I could.
They've got so many good pieces on this team. It's not even explainable. Like they've got Wiggins, they've got Towns, they've got Levine. They still got Rubio. Mm-hmm. Shabazz Muhammad has made a huge improvement.
He really has, man. That kid out of UCLA, man. He was traded in 2013, I think, for a couple of guys. I think it was Trey Burke, maybe.
It was Trey Burke.
Yeah, it was Trey Burke. It was. I remember that. Yeah, that was an interesting trade, and I was thinking
they picked 40,000 guards in that draft.
They did do that.
It was absolutely. I don't know why they picked this. Who they also picked Rubio in that draft, if I recall.
No.
Rubio, was that the year
Rubio
before?
Was a long time ago. That was 2010, something like 2009, something like that. Because that was when Johnny Flynn was picked too.
Maybe that was the year I was thinking about. That they picked a plethora of guards.
No. That was Minnesota. But they traded Shabazz Muhammad and Gorgie Jang. I think both of those guys were in that. And they sent Trey Burke to Utah in that draft, or in that move. It was on draft night. But Shabazz Muhammad and Gorgie Jang have both been pivotal pieces, and I think they will be pivotal pieces down the stretch.
If you think about it, for a backup center, what Gorgie Jang brings, he's so versatile.
Absolutely,
he's an undersized center, to say the least.
Well, I mean, he's not undersized in height. He's a little skinny, but
But I mean, he's averaging 10 points a game, 7 rebounds. He's getting 1.2 steals, 1.2 blocks. I mean, he brings a lot on both ends of the floor.
I agree. Yeah. And he's totally usurped what Nikola Pekovic was doing, because Nikola Pekovic is almost irrelevant on this team. I mean, he's making a lot of money. Let's get that out the way now. Nikola Pekovic is making a lot of money, but it's worth it. Like, he's 6'11", 307 pounds. It's 307. Oh my goodness! Like, he's
got
big,
good touch.
Absolutely, he was averaging in his best season 17.5 and 8.7 rebounds per game.
Wow.
Those were big time numbers to put with Kevin Love's contributions too.
I think
they were a playoff team.
I think for this team to move forward in the future,
absolutely,
Wiggins has got to continue down this path that he's been on.
I think he will.
He's been something else this year. He really has. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't remember how many points he averaged last year, but I mean, just by it's not even how many points he's averaging.
Yeah, he's averaging almost 21 a game now.
the amount of confidence he has this year,
Mm-hmm.
they do have quite a better team than they did last year.
I'd agree. I'd agree with that.
He's playing with such a high level of confidence this year
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah.
playing on a bottom 5 team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one guy that you
And
haven't.
I would say they're the best bottom 5 team there is.
Oh, I'd agree with that. The one guy you haven't mentioned is Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
That kid's a superstar. Let's just
Yes.
get that out there right away.
Yeah.
That kid's a superstar in the making, man. In a couple years, we're gonna be like, yeah, him, Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins. Those are gonna be the young guys that are gonna run the league when all the other guys are out.
Oh, the centers from this past draft are going to run the league.
Absolutely,
you got
man.
Okafor
too, man.
You got Porzingis.
Yeah.
And you got Towns.
Yeah.
These guys are going to run the league for a long time.
Yeah, these guys are going to be the bigs of the future.
And you know what we thought? We thought, the era of dominant bigs was over.
I was about
and then
to say
this draft comes along.
This draft is unbelievable. And
you even have a guy like Miles Turner who can switch between the 4 and 5.
I thought Miles Turner at one point was Rookie of the Year candidate. I mean, you didn't believe me. I was actually surprised that you didn't agree with me. But I mean, I was watching Miles Turner, and that level of play, what he was doing
mid-season especially,
was so important. But you also forget that if Joel Embiid ever gets back around, he could also be another elite center. So here we are. Here we are back at this, back at the thing where we thought the center position was dead, and now we got five, six bigs here that can completely dominate the league on top of everything. But I really love what Karl Anthony Towns is doing, and he's got a great point guard in Rubio to feed him the ball, and he's gotten great opportunities and great touches, man, and he really has done such a good job. There are a couple other guys that I'd like to point out. Tayshaun Prince is also here, so he gives another veteran body,
and they also have Andre Miller as well.
But no, Andre Miller got waived.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, He's on San Antonio.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And they've got.
And you mentioned a guy, Tyus Jones.
Tyus Jones is interesting. If you remember, they got him from that Cleveland trade. Where they sent. I think that was the trade for Rakeem Christmas.
Yeah.
And then Rakeem Christmas was then traded from Cleveland to Indiana. Yeah.
I think that's right. Yeah.
But I think Tyus Jones was the initial person. Like, Cleveland picked Tyus Jones and then sent him to Minnesota. So I think Minnesota originally drafted. Tyus Jones, or not Tyus Jones, but Rakeem Christmas. But I like what Tyus Jones has been doing.
Yeah.
And he's another Duke guy. He was there. I think a couple of years before, he was there the year before Justice Winslow and Okafor was there.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like this kid. He's a winner.
Team.
No. He was there with Okafor, wasn't he? Yeah, he was there with Okafor.
I think he was.
Yeah, I'm being silly. I'm forgetting stuff I should know. But yeah, man, I really like Tyus Jones, man. He's one of those true kind of point guards, just a winner.
And he'll improve by next year.
Absolutely,
obviously.
He needs to put on some weight and he needs to work on his shooting touch a little bit. But
I think you're looking at this team. Their starting unit is extremely solid.
Very good.
It's very good. They're a bench away from being back in the playoffs.
I think they need a power forward at this point. But
yeah, I mean
they
that's
can still
fair.
Get one.
Or even a small forward.
Well, no. I like Wiggins. I like Wiggins there.
No, Wiggins isn't playing that. He's playing the shooting guard.
He's a small forward.
They got Shabazz Muhammad playing small forward.
He's 6'8", 200. He should be. I mean, he's going to play the small forward position. He typically starts off in the small forward position. Shabazz Muhammad wouldn't start if they had another two guard. And Shabazz Muhammad's 6'6". So I'll tell you, they need a two guard on this team. I'd get a better point guard than Rubio. Honestly, I'm
not too keen on him.
Never was a fan of Rubio. He never shot the ball. And how many European guys who are not from Latvia cannot shoot the you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? That aren't the 700, the 300-pound, 7 feet tall, huge guys from Eastern Europe. How many guys come out of like Spain or France who can't shoot the basketball?
Quite a bit.
Not not as many. No, pretty much everybody shoots over there. Rubio cannot shoot to save his life, man.
Well, I mean, to be fair, neither could Tony Parker when he first came out.
Well, I mean, he developed his game. He developed into a shooter. Rubio has not developed.
Okay.
He's been in the league, what, 5 years?
Yeah.
He has not developed a jump shot at all. He's never gotten it better with the jump shot. That is the one vice on his game that I'd say. He plays the passing lanes pretty well, and he gets plenty of assists, and he's gotten some triple doubles in his career. But man, he has never shot the ball well, and he definitely doesn't shoot well from 3. So he's getting 10 and 8, almost 9 assists per game. He's got an efficiency of 16.5, but he's got almost a 9 to about a 2.6 assist to turnover ratio, which isn't too bad. It's about 3 or 4 to 1, which is
What do you think
good.
about them possibly? You're saying that maybe, Rubio has to go. You know who I like on this team? You know what? Because I mean, you're starting to build a pretty balanced team if you're thinking about it. You've got a defensive presence in Towns.
Both sides, I'd say.
Both sides,
Towns, yeah.
You know what? And to be fair, Rubio, even though he does get the steals, he at times can be a liability on defense. Yeah.
He gambles a lot.
He's a gambler.
Takes himself out of place.
You know who I really like on this team? A guy like Jeff Teague.
Jeff Teague would be interesting. When we were talking about a trade, and I was talking to you back at the trade deadline. Remember, I was telling you about a lot of the moves, and I mentioned Jeff Teague maybe coming here, or like George Hill going to Atlanta and Jeff Teague ending up in the Pacers getting Rubio. And I said, that's a genius trade for Minnesota.
Yeah.
Get a guy like Jeff
I think
Teague.
Everybody wins in those trades.
Well, I mean, if I was the Pacers, I'd rather have Jeff Teague, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, Rubio's a good second option.
Rubio's not bad.
He's I'd say he's an upgrade over Hill.
I'd agree
to an
with
extent.
That. I'd agree
I mean,
with that.
you do lose, obviously, the 3.
You lose the spacing, and he's a pretty good defensive player. But man, George Hill just drives me insane. But a guy like Rubio would be a good replacement. I mean, he makes sure that everybody gets the ball. At the end of the day, he runs a lot of pick and roll. He's a great passer. He loves to get out and run. But the half court set is where Rubio really struggles. And that hurts, man. When you can't play in a half court set in a league, especially in the playoffs, when you have to play half court sets, when the game slows down and you have to fight for every single possession, this is where Rubio is at his weakest. And that's a dangerous situation to be put in, especially if you're a team that relies a lot on getting out and running and, doing a lot of the little things. But, I like this team. I do. There are a lot of great options. Kevin Garnett's a good mentor, and he'll get a front office job.
A lot of those bottom guys that we're looking at the roster, it's a lot of veteran guys that really aren't playing that much. But that's what they're there for. They're for the mentoring. They're not necessarily there for the playing.
Yeah, I mean that's why they brought Andre Miller, and Andre Miller was just supposed to be a presence on the bench.
I think is another key thing for them. I mentioned this before the segment. I think Zach LaVine turning into more a distributing point guard and really developing as a point guard. For a guy, if they do end up keeping Rubio, to keep him coming off the bench and actually develop even further. I mean, he's gotten so much better from where he was last year. His shooting touch is so much better than it was last year.
Absolutely.
But, if he develops even further, that's another key point for this team.
Mm-hmm.
That they can definitely look for. And you know what? They're a bottom 5 team, so they're going to be looking possibly towards a top 5. Definitely a top 10 pick.
Now here's a crazy thought. Would you? I like what you said, but would you at any point consider trading that pick maybe for an asset or something like that, or do you.
Like, who do you think?
Well, I mean, there's some options out there. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but there are definitely some options that you could go with out there. Or do you just keep the pick? Do you try to get another player? The thing with Levine, I'd rather bring him off the bench.
Yeah,
I'd
mean
rather
that's what I
bring
was
him off
saying.
the bench as kind of your sixth man. I mean, you could start him if you wanted to, but I would probably bring him off the bench and let him eat up on the other
Then you
guys
have to
and let him play that kind of
You know
combo
what?
guard role.
You kind of have to solidify that position then in the starting lineup.
Yeah,
then
I'd agree. You need a two guard. You definitely
you
need
go
a
after.
two guard.
You probably more than likely definitely a plethora of them in the draft. I mean, there's a good balance of like talent at every position in
I'd
this
say
draft.
this is a very the 1 weak part. I'd say is probably at the point guard position.
Yeah,
There really isn't
fair.
a great point guard out there that makes me. I mean, Chris Dunn is the guy that a lot of people are looking at, but 4-year guys just don't have the same value as somebody who's 19, 20, 21.
Yeah.
They don't need a backup point guard. They want a starting point guard, or they need a two guard. And you could go out there, you could find a couple good two guards out there, and in the draft, and you've got plenty of options here. The biggest thing is just to see who's still left. I mean, if any reason, somebody like Ben Simmons is still left, or
you take him.
Buddy Hield. Well, of course I'd take him, and then I'd answer every single phone call offering some players for him.
Yeah.
Like that's the best part about being that low down and picking somebody. But I don't know, man. I don't know how much this team needs, and how much this team just needs a little bit of time to develop. They need a coach.
I think it's more time.
I'd say.
I think they have such a great starting unit, but I mentioned it earlier. They're honestly a bench away.
Yeah.
From being back.
They're only a couple players. I mean, honestly, they're only a couple players. They're not a whole bench. They're just a couple of players, 2 or 3 guys off of the bench to just solidify it. And I think they could get those guys in the draft this year.
I definitely agree, man.
Get rid of some of the heavy contracts, lose Pekovic. I mean,
the one
lose
thing
Tayshaun Prince.
The one thing they do have going for them, they have a great string of youth.
I'd say that, yeah.
And you know what?
For all of the teams, they've got the best youth here.
You know what separates them from the other bottom 5 teams?
Mm-hmm.
They have veteran leadership to help guide that youth.
I mean, Philly does. Philly's got Elton Brand and Carl Landry. They've got some older guys there to solidify and help with the growing pains here. And you see the exact same thing. You got Kevin Garnett. You've got Tayshaun Prince, Pekovic, Rubio. These guys have been in the league for 5-6 years now. Kevin Garnett's been in for 20. So they impart their knowledge. They help these young guys, and they just give a good presence. And that's the one thing that I feel like Phoenix doesn't have. They don't have the veteran guy to say, okay, enough being silly, enough with your being ridiculous, and let's just put our heads down and make it through this rebuilding process.
Yeah.
And you know what? Minnesota has stood this test and
for way too long.
Absolutely.
When's the last time they made the playoffs?
They have the highest right now.
It's probably been since the Garnett era.
I think it's been longer than that. Garnett was still on the team when they were missing the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, it's up there with
2005.
It's up there with Sacramento. It's up there with Sacramento.
Oh, I think they're the longest in the NBA. They've got an 11-year playoff drought, I think, now. I mean, Detroit had like a 7 or 8.
This may be the first time in a long time this team has something to look forward to.
Oh, I'd say long term they have something to look forward to. I mean, we all know. I still hold my grudges against Kevin Garnett because he's just a good player on a bad team.
Yeah.
You see what happens to good players on bad teams. They do a lot of the scoring. They get all the rebounds. They make all the plays. But at the same time, how many touches are you getting per game?
Yeah.
How efficient are you? Then Kevin Garnett was very efficient, but he got all the touches. So I always hesitate to say how good he was, and he never helped his team get over the hump. You gotta help get your team over the hump, and part of it's just talent, But he has a chance here. This is the best group of guys that he's ever played with. With Karl Anthony Towns, with Wiggins, with Rubio.
He's just at the end of his prime.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting question. You imagine a Garnett in his prime playing with this team.
That would be interesting, man.
That'd be a fun team to watch.
That would be interesting. Now, again, I've never been a fan of Kevin Garnett. I just thought he was kind of a thug, and he was just, he just a little old school. But I always thought he was too dirty to be old school. Like he was dirtier than old school. Like there's old school, like what we consider dirty today, like
Bill Laimbeer.
Yeah, well, no. Bill Laimbeer is what we consider dirty. Like, but there's hard-nosed basketball to play when you don't get rid of all the excessive contact. When you throw somebody onto the ground after the play, like the Pistons when Rodman. I remember the one where Scottie Pippen was going up and. Rodman just kind of pushed him into the back after the play was over and shoved him on the ground.
Like excessive stuff like that.
That's the kind of stuff that Garnett does. Like Garnett will just hit somebody in the face and throw his arms up and
that's just all a part of his personality though.
Yeah, I mean he's a hard-nosed guy, and he a lot of the stuff he does is I'm fine with, but it's some of the stuff, man. I mean, if you believe the reports where he was talking about Carmelo Anthony's mother in one of those games, okay, you lost me, Garnett. You don't trash talk about that kind of stuff. Like that stuff's off limits, man. You don't talk about your fam. You don't talk about somebody else's family like that. So, man, I don't know, but you know what? They've got a lot of good veteran influence, and both are defensive influences.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest place where this team can improve is on the defensive end of the floor.
And they're already decently solid on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, until last season, they were just atrocious defensively.
They made a huge improvement. Were they up to 20th
Karl Anthony Towns helped solidify this defense, and with Kevin Garnett helping running the show, man, they've got a great defensive presence, and Tayshaun Prince was another gritty defensive player, man.
And Andre Miller when he was around.
Andre Miller was a great defensive player. They had a great defensive little mindset going here, and they played good defense with the idea of Flip Saunders being there. He was a defensive minded coach.
And Wiggins has the potential to be one too.
Yeah.
Wiggins
has
long.
Superstar.
He's long.
He's got superstar potential here, man. So, man, I think they're in a great spot here. I really do.
You know what? I think, like you said, they're one starter away.
Mm-hmm. I'd say they're one starter and about two bench players away from.
They could easily. You know what? I did say they're 2 years from playoff contention. If they get even some of those guys this summer,
if they fill up their agenda at least a little bit, now
they could
need to
even
get a
this
coach.
summer.
They do need to get a coach.
Yeah. You know what?
There are
this
a lot
year
of teams in the coach
they play for even the record they showed. They played this year like they were playing for somebody, and I think that. I think the passing of Flip Saunders really put a nail in this team and made them want to fight for it.
Absolutely. And you know what? This is how Flip Saunders would want it. He would want to go out knowing that these guys played hard, whether for him or for their coach that they've got now. Like that's how Flip Saunders would want to be remembered.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, my memory, the last team that I put on the floor, the last thing that I did basketball-wise, I created a winner. Yeah. That's how Flip Saunders would want to be remembered.
I agree.
I know that's how he would have wanted to be remembered. I put a competitive
team out. It's starting to seem
there.
like it will be that in the next few years.
They played hard for me. They played hard for my memory. And that is the best basketball respect that you can receive in this game. That's the utmost respect. And I have so much respect for Flip Saunders, man. He's so fantastic.
I do too, man. Hey guys, this finishes up our segment of the bottom 5 teams for a year in review.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was Minnesota we were talking about. Just comment and subscribe on our YouTube page for Case for Pace. And we'll be back with more videos soon.
Yeah, 5 down, 25 more to go. Let's do it.
It'll be a while, but we're going to dig into this one.
All right.
Good night, guys.
We'll see you guys.